Right, it's official. It's exactly 90 days to Christmas. Now we can begin that countdown. And you know, it's only at Morning Cafe that you can learn such kind of statistics.
Absolutely love it.
My name is Fred Indimuli. Karibu sana to Morning Cafe here asubuhi.
I am Shiksha Arora, and in case you're wondering what is happening today, well, we've got a very packed day ahead of us, of course, as you can see.
Including a packed panel for State of the Nation. MPs Jandas are here, Daniel Manduku, David Kiplagat, and former MP Wilson Sosion will be in studio for the discussions. Of course, unajua anakuwa anaongelelea nini. Hiyo impeachment motion, as it is right now,
yes,
it could happen as early as today.
Absolutely. So that's something that Fred Indimuli will be talking about. Later on, I will be discussing primary lymphoma of the bone with Robert Mutengo, an oncologist, and Bhakti Modi, who's actually a cancer survivor, and her story is one of just a miracle. So we'll be discussing that later on. We also have our favorite Pilates workout. Hey, by the way, let me tell you, this girl, Federica Trufelli, she killed me. She finished me. My entire body was vibrating.
This one?
Yes.
Federica Trufelli.
She does not look dangerous, but let me tell you.
It's good that I know.
Now you know. Never do Pilates, Fred. Never.
So we'll find out more about Pilates. I also don't know what it is. We'll find out today. A quick look at the headlines and we'll be discussing this. Senate grinds to a halt as funding crisis bites. Did you ever imagine that the Senate or even the Houses of Parliament could lack funding to this extent? That's the front page of the Star this morning, and we'll be back to take a look at that in detail on the front page of the People Daily.
That's the People Daily, and it says inside night meetings to impeach DP, and as Fred said, it could happen as early as today. And a section of Rift Valley leaders think that his removal, Gachagwa's removal, DP's removal, is a done deal. Others warn move may be their own Waterloo on page 4. That's something that is top on almost all the newspapers today.
Yes, indeed. It is there on the front page of the Standard, staring at an impeachment drawing near. You can see the image of a deputy president who looks a bit worried.
Yes.
Yes, that's a Standard on sasa hii technology inataka kuleta nini. On the Daily Nation,
we have Ruto allies to reap billions in UHC deal. Remember, just yesterday there was an entire profile about the man there, Mr. Adil Kawaja. We also have two others who've now appeared, Miss Mwende Gatabaki. We also have David Ndi, who actually are husband and wife. And of course, these are the people who will be playing a major role in this particular deal. So we'll be seeing what exactly the deal is about and how the use of technology is going to be helping the provision of affordable healthcare to all citizens, according to Mr. President.
And how much it will cost you as a taxpayer. That's the front page of the Daily Nation. Mawaziri vigeugeu ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Hii leo anasema vigogo wa ODM wageuka watetezi sugu wa sera na mipango waliokosoa baada ya uteuzi wao kama mawaziri. Wakawapo mbele Hassan Joho, John Badi, Wycliffe Oparanya na Opio Wandai. Matters business.
All right, apart from that, we also have the Business Daily that talks about the IMF fallout as it deepens, a state firm sale blocked. Now, remember, the High Court judgment just leaves privatization plan in limbo, and parastatal reforms part of IMF conditions for new loans, I beg your pardon. Just yesterday, as we saw, that the major defaulters were actually, well,
of SACCO loans.
Exactly, and more than 432 billion was something that had not been paid. Right now we're seeing what exactly IMF is talking about and what High Court has ruled, which leaves privatization plans in limbo. That's something that we'll be talking about.
Right. Let's cross over to Uganda, and today they're talking about power. You know, even Kenya, we import power from Uganda.
Yep.
So Daily Monitor on the front page, they have rising power. And you know, they're not very wordy.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was just rubbished. Today, rising power.
It's 2 words.
Yes. So they say Karuma lights up 29 years after it was first emergent. Africa's largest underground hydropower plant comes to life today when a 600 megawatt project at Karuma on the River Nile is commissioned. So this is a very positive story on the front page of the Daily Monitor, pages 2, 3 and 39. And if you see this, it means Kenya stands to benefit as well, because we are part of the biggest importers of Ugandan electricity. So yes, they have a very imposing picture of River Nile at Karuma, the new underground water, they're calling it underground hydropower plant.
Yes.
That's the front page of the Daily Monitor. Still in Uganda, it is also the big story on the new vision.
That is CID to probe more KCCA officials.
I think it's a picture that is the same story.
Yes, the picture is the same story. Uganda now a powerhouse, but that seems to have caught my attention.
This is a big headline.
Yes.
And
Remember yesterday we spoke about it as well, where there was a dump site that caused the death of very many, 40?
Yes, around 40 people.
Around 40 people. And now the officials are being probed about this. So that is another very top story that has been trending in Uganda.
And they're saying that the dump site actually costs 4 billion shillings annually. Okay, it's Ugandan money, but either way, it's
still
about
big money.
It's hundreds of millions of Kenya shillings either way. So yes.
And that, by the way, is an aerial view of the Karuma hydropower station.
Yes, very
nice picture indeed.
Very positive story on the front page. I wish I could see something like this on a Kenyan newspaper. One day it will happen.
All right, so that is the Mwananchi.
Lissu atoa msimamo, madai ya taarifa za simu yake kuvujishwa, atangaza kukimbilia kotini kusaka haki yake, wakubaini waliohusika kumshambulia, asema ukweli utajulikana tu hata ukichelewa. This is an opposition leader in Tanzania. He's been in the crosshairs. There was an attempt on his life, and he now claims that an internet service provider and a telecommunications company actually gave out his details about his mobile phone, and now he's looking to sue the government. It is also the story on the front page of The Citizen.
And the same thing, Lissu may sue government telecom company, and opposition politician Tundu Lissu is considering the possibility of suing the government, which allegedly secretly handed over his mobile telephone data before an attempt was made on his life back in 2017. That's a top story on The Citizen. Of course, we also have what 81 billion shillings Mbamba Bay port means.
And this, if you could draw a parallel with what you're seeing in Uganda.
Absolutely.
Mega projects, mega infrastructure projects making it to the front page. You come to Kenya and you're just talking about Rigiji and his impeachment. And
politics,
and how much money they're going to steal from us. And
2026 is actually the year that the construction is expected to be completed. So it seems like a good year for Tanzania, 2026.
Positive news on the front pages of the dailies in Uganda and Tanzania this morning. In Kenya, not so positive. The Senate doesn't have money. Elsewhere, the Ruto allies are reaping billions of shillings from that SHIF plan.
The multi-billion UHC deal, which we'll find out how much it's about to cost, and the 3 people who are very much involved in this particular deal, of course, aside from the president. So we'll be talking about that right now.
We'll come back to take a look at the local dailies in depth. For now, let's take a look at the weather situation this morning, and we start off with Isiolo. We see Isiolo kunaendaje. So it's 18 degrees Celsius as we speak. Yes, promises to be a very sunny day, sunny intervals in the morning, partly cloudy towards the later part of the day, highs of 31 degrees Celsius, so it's quite hot in Isiolo today. Later in the week it could go as high as 32 degrees. Yes,
looking so that's like a warm week there in Isiolo.
Very hot weather there.
Speaking of Kisii, our entire team at TV47, well, most of them are going to be in Kisii, of course, courtesy of Co-op Bank, and it is the Year Bank account which everyone's been talking about here at TV47. So if you are at Kisii National Polytechnic, please make sure that you are part of the plan, because it's going to be a big event.
Campus Wave.
Lots of entertainment, and
so
one of these days, maybe you should join.
I should. Cape Media is taking over Kisii. So let's take a look at the weather situation in Kisii. It's 16 degrees Celsius as we speak. Also, sunny intervals throughout the day, partly cloudy, and highs of 24 degrees. Very comfortable weather in Kisii. So
it's going to be a good day.
Very comfortable. Let's take a look at some holiday weather. We see, 24 degrees in Diani.
Yes, and it goes up to 29 degrees at around 2 p.m. That's, I think, the highest throughout the day. So yes, it's looking like a pretty solid sunny day with some cloud cover, but it is, all in all, beautiful holiday weather, as Indimuli has put it. Hopefully, we will also get to experience that in Nairobi very, very soon. But as of now, 13 degrees is what we're expecting. We are currently experiencing, but throughout the day, oh yes, 26 degrees today, better than yesterday.
Yesterday was a bit chilly. It was dull, actually. It was really dull.
Very grey and cloudy, but I feel like it got better at around 2, 3. But similar situation today at around 3, 4. We are seeing 26, 25, which to me is comfortable, good weather, holiday weather.
All right. For now, let's take a look at today in history before we come back and take a look at the papers. Today in history, 26 September 2017, Supreme Court ruling on presidential election. On September 26, 2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya upheld the decision to annul the August 8 presidential election results. This was a historic ruling that marked the very first time a court annulled a presidential election in Africa, citing irregularities and illegalities in the electoral process. The court's decision led to a rerun of the presidential election on October 26, 2017.
Quite an informative feature right there that just tells you what happened in history, especially if history wasn't one of your strengths. Well, guess what? By force, by fire, you will learn right here on the Morning Cafe show. And speaking of, history, international days, tomorrow is actually World Tourism Day.
Oh, really?
And yes, the parks are free for all tomorrow, especially Nairobi National Park. If you are planning to go on a game drive, tomorrow is the day, and it is absolutely free for you, no entrance charge. And that's something that, in case you did not know, now you do.
I did not know at all, but at least I got a chance to go for a game drive last Friday.
How was that?
Oh, it's lovely. Abede's National Park. It's a bit chilly, but beautiful scenes.
Can't wait to see what you got up to.
Oh, yeah, right. So let's now come back and take a look at the local dailies. All right, and we start off with the Star newspaper this morning because the smart people read the Star. Senate grinds to a halt as funding crisis bites. There's a big story. They say Treasury delays and a 450 million shilling debt accumulated. Insiders say there have been salary delays. Can you imagine that? If at all people who are working in the Houses of Parliament are not even getting paid on time. What do you expect about counties like Moyale and others that are far off? Yes. So house allocation was slashed by 600 million shillings following the withdrawal of finance bill after Gen Z demos. But there's also the 450 million shilling debt, and you wonder, okay, so you incurred a debt of 450 million shillings as the Senate, doing what exactly?
What was happening? Where is the money? Where was it spent?
Exactly.
Imperative questions.
They keep asking everyone else, how did you spend your money?
Now someone needs to ask them the same.
There's a very interesting story here on the front page of the Star.
Yeah.
There's an ex-Siaya mayor who is to be buried in his palatial house. And when we say in, it's actually inside the house that he built. So this grave is actually being dug. It's been dug right inside his house. I
have a question. Does his family still live there?
Not so sure.
That's something that we should know, because imagine living in a family home where your father, husband has been buried.
They say this is tradition. Alego Usonga ODM branch chairman John Orwenjo Umida. He says the grave in the sitting room. This is a grave inside the sitting room. Orwenjo's house. Young men leading a bull to slaughter. And this story is actually on page 3 of the Star. No, it's not on page 3. Page 2 of the Star. Extra 4 billion shillings is not small money by any chance.
And remember just yesterday, the story about the medical intern that took her life after a 36-hour shift. These are things that the Ministry of Health has been experiencing, challenges and struggles that interns, doctors, nurses have been speaking about. And now they see
it's a new system. What happened to the NHIF system? And that's what many people are saying. There was already a system. How come you just can't transition the same system?
A new system altogether. Questions,
104 billion shillings just like that.
More questions.
More highlights here. Police used lethal weapons of war against protesters. Lobbies probe establishes. Yes. Elsewhere, Norway MPs U-turn on merging bursary schemes. You know, they had actually said, oh, they're willing to merge all the bursaries, including from CDF. Now I say,
not anymore.
Mimi nilisema mimi. Mulinisikia.
Similar thing happened yesterday. Remember about Ford Foundation?
Oh, yes. Oh, there's a lot of turnaround. And a fresh hurdle for Ruto as Kanja appointment challenged in court. That's the IG of police appointment. So that's the Star this morning.
That's the People Daily, and at the top, of course, we see why petitioners want IG Kanja kicked out of office. That's on page 6. But yes, let me draw your attention to the bigger part of this particular cover page, where we see a very stressed out looking DP that is Rigathi Gachagua. Riggy G is looking stressed, and why exactly is he so? Feeling this way because guess what? Inside night meetings, there's plans to impeach DP. It could happen as early as today.
They're calling it divorce.
A section of Rift Valley leaders think that the removal is a done deal. Others warn move may be their own Waterloo. And that's something that we're seeing in almost all of the newspapers. We also have it on the Standard. And yeah, staring at an impeachment drawing. That's something that is going to happen. Well, time will tell, but it could possibly be happening today.
A story given prominence on the front page of the People Daily is this one: the faces behind Ruto's economic mess. And for the first time in a very long time, David Ndii, the chair of President William Ruto's economic advisors, team of advisors, features on not just the People Daily, but also on the front page of the Daily Nation.
Absolutely.
David Ndii have become famous for
for
not very good things. So here they say you are behind Ruto's economic mess. Clique of highly paid advisors on the spot of a litany of blunders that have pushed Kenyans, courts and MPs to reject president's legacy programs.
We have Junet Mohammed right there.
No, this is Aidan Mohammed. Aidan Mohammed,
Yeah.
Dominic Menjo, Gulie, and
Henry
former CS for Treasury, Henry Rotich. Their faces are there on the front page. That's a People Daily.
Right now, at the Standard, of course, staring at an impeachment drawing near, MPs say the motion to remove Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is ready and has garnered the requisite support from members to actually meet the threshold. However, there's a split on who will be leading this onslaught, with some pointing at the opposition through Junet Mohammed and others the government side through Kimani Ichung'wah. Pages 7 and 8 of this particular
And that's
big
the irony,
story.
because they've been threatening the deputy president that you're going home in the next 2 weeks, we are done with you. Then there's hesitation on who is going to actually table the motion of impeachment, which they say is already ready. So anyway,
They're just looking for that leader.
and nani at a table.
Yeah.
No one wants.
The face behind this impeachment.
No one wants to bite the bullet, but yes, it could happen as soon as today. Those are the indications, and most of these dailies talk about that.
All right, now at the top we have MPs raise a storm over new firms in health cover deal. Remember, this particular health cover deal is something that we will be seeing in detail at the Daily Nation. Next to it, we have Medic's death points to a crisis in sector. Of course, we have seen previously that the health CS is going to be probed over billions, 100 billion plus. That's something that the other newspaper is talking about. Government loans more expensive. That is on page 20. And this is world news. Hezbollah fires missiles at Israel. Death toll rises. Now, of course, Emmanuel Macron also suggested and actually raised his voice against Israel firing at Lebanon. So a lot of leaders, world leaders, have spoken up against it and said, you know what, this needs to stop. Israel needs to stop firing at Lebanon. And my question is, where was this energy for Gaza? Where was this energy for Palestine? But you know what, world affairs, who are we to talk?
All right. Quick highlights on the bottom strip of this paper. Ruto puts CSs on tight leash with tough targets and coordination weak sport in police service. I think they continue bundling out the reports by the task force led by former CJ David Maraga on police service. That's the Standard today. On the Daily Nation, Ruto allies to reap billions in UHC deal. And once again, we do have the face of David Ndii, his wife, Mwende Gatabaki, and Adil Kawaja. On the front page, they say Adil Kawaja and Mwende Gatabaki, two professionals
in separate fields who are Central East caste members, I beg your pardon, in one of the biggest plays that any Kenyan government has ever attempted to stage, that is the use of technology in the provision of affordable healthcare to all citizens. And as President William Ruto's administration now prepares to roll out this multi-billion shilling health plan next month, details of this 10-year contract are now beginning to emerge. That's on pages 6 and 7.
And it becomes controversial, and MPs have said, don't approve integrated healthcare information systems tender. And they were telling this to the Attorney General. So if at all the Attorney General will follow that direction, she will not append her signature to that deal.
On the left, you can see a picture of Rigiji looking very happy, and it says Gachagua ouster bid. MPs now collect signatures, and this planned impeachment of DP Rigathi Gachagua is gathering momentum. Some MPs saying that they have appended the signatures in support of this particular motion. And yeah, this is something that is at the top of all newspapers today, a top story that every media house seems to be covering.
Oh yes, and the other story given prominence is this report by the Task Force on Police Service, and they call it a rotten force, how police bribes are shared up chain of command. It's not just the junior officers, ile kitu kidogo inaenda hata kwa wakubwa. Wakubwa wanakula kitu kidogo pia. And
you know what, Indimuli, I feel like this is something that is going to be getting even worse, I believe, especially now as, you know, we start counting down to Christmas. The countdown has officially begun. During Christmas, when Kenyans are going to be traveling, this is something that we see happening. So what next? What happens?
And that's the question. We have all these probes, task forces, Absolutely. They come up with reports, but what next?
Road safety still a concern right here in the country.
Right. Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, mawaziri vigeugeu. Wanasema vigogo wa ODM wageuka watetezi sugu wa sera na mipango waliokosoa baada ya uteuzi wao kama mawaziri. Mmoja wao ni Hassan Joho ambaye ni waziri wa madini na uchumi baharini, John Badi waziri wa fedha, Wycliffe Oparanya waziri wa vyama vya ushirika, na Opiyo Wandayi waziri wa kawi. Now these are the same people who are very critical of the government or the bottom-up economic agenda, but now they have turned the biggest supporters and biggest proponents of the better model. Anyway, viongozi wa ODM walioteuliwa mawaziri sasa wamepiga bautani na kuwa watetezi wa sera za serikali ya Kenya Kwanza waliozipinga awali. That means they were never, the criticism and opposition to that deal was not really in principle. Ilikuwa tu ni siasa.
Politics yet again in play.
Pale chini Trump anasema kuna mipango ya kumuua, na ni kwamba ni Iran wana mipango kama hiyo. Mipango ya Iran kuua Trump nje. Na Ruto atuma Gachagua kongamano. Pale juu masuala ya spoti, Man City Chelsea za songa kati ya timu zilizofuzu kwa duru ya 4 ya Carabao. Masuala ya spoti pia kwenye ukurasa wa 20 wa gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Tukimalizia na masuala ya biashara.
That's the Business Daily, where Kenya IMF fallout deepens as state actually firms the sale blocked. Now remember, High Court ruled that is back in 2023 according to the Act, and it said that it was unconstitutional and actually looks to set up further complicate Kenya's effort, that is, it's to complicate Kenya's efforts to unlock more than 77.5 billion shillings in the new funding from the IMF. So the High Court judgment has left privatization plans in limbo. Parastatal reforms part of IMF conditions of new loans. So this is something that we are looking at. And remember, the Privatization Act was actually updated in October 2023 to support the sale of the parastatals, with some relying on state bailouts. And that is showing little prospect for recovery.
All right. Another highlight of the ticker, and the Gatabaki family is now mentioned again. You've seen Gatabaki on the Daily Nation, the front page now saying state to pay Gatabaki is 300 million shillings for trespass. The government has been ordered to compensate the family of the late Kiambu tycoon Samuel Gatabaki a total of 300 million shillings for illegally taking a parcel of land where the northern bypass was constructed. And it's not very far from where we are right now. It's about less than 10 kilometers from here. Elsewhere, Toyota dealer CFAO expands with Chinese electric brand BYD. Kenya Power EAPC shares double and tea export earnings increase by 33 billion.
Well, at least we have some good news
Something
there.
Something positive at least.
Right at the end.
And you see where it's been hidden. We could have missed it.
This should have been right
should have
here.
Been the main headline.
Exactly. The biggest story, the top story on the Business Daily. But you know what?
It is the only positive story we've come across from the local dailies. You look at Uganda and Tanzania, and there's so much positivity on the front pages.
And they are highlighting positivity.
Anyway, it's just, we are Kenyans, and Kenya is our business.
All right.
So positive stories on all the other papers in the region. Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning.
Out goes, in comes. Okay.
So look at this bed, which has someone
NHIF.
Yes.
And that's the SHIF. So out goes the NHIF, in comes the SHIF.
And the commentator asks you to spot the difference. That's a challenge. So what's the difference really between these two?
From what I see, absolutely none.
Yes, this is the Mugonjwa is still there, same thing, still the graft and other issues. Graft on is the IV there. So basically, the cartoonist says we've just shifted from NHIF, SHIF at a very huge cost.
But nothing has been changed.
Nothing has changed.
According to our commentator.
That's a cartoon on the Standard.
Push it through, yet again focusing on the NHIF, change to SHIF. So now, as you can see, that's an ambulance, and we have somebody pushing the SHIF.
A table or a stretcher that cannot fit in that vehicle.
Yep, and that's been broken. NHIF stretcher has been stretched.
So probably this is how they could fit it in the ambulance. They had to break it to put it in. Now SHIF,
similar situation.
They might need to break it as well.
It's also looking like it might be a tight one. I don't know how it's going to enter, but you know what? We might need to fold it, and then maybe soon THIF might come into play.
I like that one. So this is a cartoon on the Daily Nation today. On the cartoon, that turnaround.
Foundation story. Remember, just 3 months ago actually, there was a very strong speech about how Ford Foundation is funding the Gen Z Maandamano, and just yesterday there was a very positive speech about Ford Foundation and how imperative and important it is
to democracy,
the work it's doing for democracy.
So this gentleman here, who looks very much like the Kenyan president, is just going round and round over this O.
And do you know what the crazy thing is? Are you seeing how his body is facing forward and his back is facing backward? That just kind of shows the turnover in his emotions and of course his speech as well.
It's interesting. It was a
360 turn, quite literally.
And finally, Rigiji finds himself on the cartoon on the People Daily. I say Gachagua facing mountain. So these are two frames.
Yes.
One, he's facing mountain. Second, he is facing impeachment. So which one will he conquer? Will he conquer the mountain, or will he conquer the attempt to impeach him? That's the cartoon on the People Daily today. So yes, now at least cartoonists wamezoea kuchora karakacha ya naibu wa rais.
With a crown.
Yes.
They always give him a crown. I've noticed that.
Famous crown.
Yes.
He's now the kingpin of Mulima.
Absolutely.
Usiguse Mulima. Well, those are the cartoons and the dailies. Let's now take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi, and you can see from far it is building up nicely. This is the Pangani interchange. From Thika Road, it's building up, and Kiamburo, that's a bottleneck, so do expect to spend some time there as you go towards town. This is normal traffic. That there is like a whole stretch of traffic that is at Outer Ring Road. Outer Ring Road, just before you get to Thika Road at Allsops. Both sides of the road almost at a standstill. What exactly is happening there? Because this is not normal. There could be an incident here that is blocking the road on both sides. Because you can see this is where it starts, but then it's green after. It's also green towards the interchange at Thika Road. So yes, if you're using Outer Ring Road towards Thika Road, or just entering Outer Ring Road from Thika Road towards Umoja area, there's a problem there. Not sure what exactly is happening, but you might just spend some time there. The other major road is Jogoo Road. It's also looking like there is a build-up of traffic. There is a hold-up right there. And yeah, seems like it's entering to Lusaka Road. Yes, that's around the City Stadium roundabout. Yes, further up the road, around just before you get to the Likoni roundabout, it's building up around Makadara and what do you call this? Mbotela area. Yes. Otherwise, seems like all is okay. Southern part of the city, nothing much to report about. Mombasa Road is looking good all the way into town. Gong Road roundabout seems like there is the usual hold-up right there, which we experience almost every day. Prestige Plaza, Junction Mall, everything just normal there. I can see something here. This is a Gong Forest Road. Yes, the Southern bypass is something there. Just before you get to Langata, I don't know what happens there. This is the road up from Langata going up towards Ngong Road. There's a bit of a snarl up there, so there could be an incident, but the road is empty either way. Let's finally take a look at Agwin's Kodek. Not Agwin's Kodek, this is actually Wayakiwe. Wayakiwe heading towards town past Kabete. Next to Nairobi School, yes, that there are bumps around here, so that's the only place that's a bit slow, but otherwise it's looking good all the way into town. Yes, but you can see those few minutes inaendelea kubuild up Pangani interchange, looking very red.
And that's quite a big stretch there.
Yes.
That's looking red.
So that's the traffic situation this morning. We'll be back after the break to take a look at the state of the nation with about 4 members of the National Assembly. One of them is a former MP. But later on the show.
Right, we also are going to be talking about healthcare. Primary lymphoma of the bone is our topic of the day. We have an oncologist. We also have a survivor. Her name is Bhakti Modi. So these are things that we will be discussing because, you know, cancer is one of the deadliest diseases, not just here in Kenya, but globally as well. Apart from that, we're also going to be working out with Federica Trufelli, who is a Pilates instructor at VMX Fitness, and she absolutely killed my muscles, murdered me. I don't even know how I'm standing.
What exactly is Pilates?
Well, it involves a lot of focused stretching and strength building. Okay. So a lot of the movements are very slow. When you look at someone doing Pilates, you cannot tell that they're dying inside. But when you do it yourself,
all right, do stand by for that later on between 9 and 10 this morning.
Right, remember if you would like to keep in touch with us and tell us where you're watching from, the hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47 at TV47KE, that is on Facebook, at TV47 News on X, at Shiksha Aurora, at Freddie Nimoli.
Yes, let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which
Yes, welcome back. This is TV47 Morning Cafe, State of the Nation, with me, Fred Indimuli. Time for us to take a look at the big headlines this morning. On the Standard, staring at impeachment drawing near, with a very interesting image there of the Deputy President. That's a big story there on the front page. On the Daily Nation, Ruto allies to reap billions in UHC deal, and MPs are telling the Attorney General not to approve the Integrated Health Information System tender. That's an interesting story there. A Gachagua ouster bid MPs collect signatures, also making it to the front page of the Daily Nation. On the Star this morning, Senate grinds to halt as funding crisis bites. Did you ever imagine that this could happen to our Houses of Parliament? But it's happening there on the front page of the Standard. Do we have the People Daily? On the People Daily, it talks about inside the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua and what has been happening behind the scenes. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio. Yes, that's a headline on the People Daily. Inside night meetings to impeach Deputy President. That's a big story on the People Daily this morning. We're privileged to have in studio this morning Wilson Sosion, a former Secretary General of KNUT and also a former member of the National Assembly. Good morning, Bwana Sosion, karibu sana.
Yeah, good morning, Fred.
Alongside Bwana Sosion, we have David Kiplagat, MP Soy constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Karibu sana. We do expect that one more person may be joining us, but let's start off with this gentleman. We are now seeing the image of the President's Chief Economic Advisor, David Ndii, on the front page of the Daily Nation. It is also on the front page of the People Daily, where under the headline, the faces, kindly get me back the People Daily, the faces behind Ruto's economic mess, and they have all the economic advisors there, including former Treasury CS Henry Rotich, and also Aidan Mohamed, who also served as CS under William Ruto, under Uhuru Kenyatta. On the front page of the Daily Nation, we have the same image of Dr. David Ndii and Ms. Mwende Gatabaki, who said to be the wife of David Ndii, who is one of President William Ruto's economic advisors. And this is about the SHIF. There's a tender for the integrated healthcare information system that these individuals are involved in, and this is already before the National Assembly, and MPs are not happy about it. So Adil Kawaja and Mwende Gatabaki, these are two professionals in separate fields, are central cast members in one of the biggest plays that any Kenyan government has ever attempted to stage: use of technology in the provision of affordable healthcare to all citizens. And as President William Ruto's administration prepares to roll out the multi-billion shilling health plan next month, details of the lucrative 10-year contract are beginning to emerge. Yes, it's only 5 days to go before the SHIF kicks in, but now we're seeing questions being raised about some of the tendering for these approaches. Bwana Sosion, did you expect that this such questions would be asked of the SHIF so close to its rollout?
Of course, definitely, as a democratic country and as a country that scrutinizes government programs, this could just be the beginning. Many more questions may be raised as you go by. But of course, the tendering system, the procurement system, and compliance with the laws, those are things to be checked. And if there are issues about it, then there are institutions to deal with these particular issues. That is Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee, and there are other institutions to deal with that. But you see, when you look at Mwende Gatabaki and you are bringing in David Ndii, Mwende Gatabaki is in our own world doing business, and David Ndii is very busy with advising the president on economic matters. How are those?
You don't see any issue with that?
No. Trying to create a linear correlation on the two, I think it's being extremely mischievous. What is very important is that UHC is being rolled out from 1st of October. And what is important, the question that Kenyans and people should be asking is, how effective is the rollout, and how is it being rolled out? That's the key thing. And if there are questions as to who has procured what, then there are structures to do so, because those are legal business entities to do business, and you can't stop them. So I think, for me, I would be very hesitant to engage in discussing things to do with personal interest of entities. I am not aware. I'm not aware that Ndii is pushing a company, and the company is only associated with the wife. The wife is a career officer and worker in that particular entity. So to me, I see no issue, and I see no big problem at all. What is important is the UHC rolled out effectively to the satisfaction of Kenyans? Those are the questions we'll be asking. And those are the key things that we should focus on.
And still, because the Daily Nation has chosen to go with this, do you share the same sentiments with Bwana Sosion here, that this simply because one individual is linked to the president's chief economic advisor in a deal that's worth 104 billion shillings, that it's not a big deal?
So maybe first, thanks, Indimule. First is to state categorically that the universal health system, the shift that the government is trying to roll out is good in that it tends to, for the first time, to address the universal health coverage that has been a big issue, especially where we come from, where I believe in terms of creation of poverty, health bills have been one of the main causes of poverty within families. So the coming up of the universal healthcare scheme to try to cushion families from the skyrocketing bills that usually result in families selling their assets, their hard-earned assets, so that to cover the bills for their loved ones. So in terms of the rollout of SHIF is in good direction. In terms of the system that offers the support, supporting the universal healthcare scheme, I've seen the pictures. I had read about the Safaricom and other two companies. I don't know where now David D and the wife comes in. Maybe that's a story I'll need to cover it, because I'm looking at it for the first time. What is important that we have seen as a country, we need to be as open as possible. We need to be above board in anything that we do, especially for this shift that actually we are detecting hard-working Kenyans. So we believe it will come. We need to be, the government needs to be as open as possible, so that whichever the system is acquired is above board, is competitive, and also meets the threshold of transparency. So we believe as we go along, if there are any black spots, it will be exposed, so that Kenyans can actually reap, can actually get value for their money. As an IC expert, usually a system, we don't criticize it at face value. We need to see what actually it does. Yes. Because looking at the figure, the colossal sum of 104 billion, I think whoever is in charge of government information and spokesperson needs to actually break down, so that we can see each and every the various modules and what it will be able to do and what entails, what package it is, so that at least we can be able to break it down and to know whether there is value for money. So
yes, and the National Assembly Departmental Committee
that is coming in bits.
Yes,
but I think once we have a clear picture, yes, we shall be able to form an opinion whether there is value for money or whether.
The Departmental Committee on Health of the National Assembly is already seized of the matter, and they have asked the Attorney General not to approve this tender that they're talking about here, 104 billion shillings. And the chair of this committee, MP Robert Pukosa, criticized the contract between the Ministry of Health and the consortium after the Integrated Healthcare Information Technology System failed during tests early this week. There's only a week to the rollout of this huge undertaking by this administration. It was initially supposed to roll out in July. Now it was extended to October, yet these questions are being asked at the tail end of that period, and there are concerns.
I believe in the Muli, in terms of the system is a very small component that actually just offers the supporting structure for the rollout of SHIF. So let us not also create an environment whereby we just pick something small to destroy the bigger picture. So that's what I'm saying is that, you know, sometimes also commenting on something you don't have the whole information. Me, I believe the way I know systems work, we need to be given the entire information of what this system entails. Does it involve maybe buying servers, installation, in terms of the duration of the contract, and for every year how much is the value, and what they will be able to do, so that, because the sum is colossal in terms of a system. So unless we are given the breakdown, and now, of course, as per our Procurement and Disposal Act of 2015, how it was acquired, all those things needs to come out clearly, because at the end of the day, we need to be, as government, we need to be as open as possible to the people of Kenya, so that at any given instance, as we go with this program, we don't create black spots that will then to spoil a very good program. So I believe probably these are information that needs to come out very clearly, and I will urge the in charge of government spokesperson to at least, not to Parliament alone, to at least buy a few pages of our daily newspaper.
And explain better.
And be able to explain better.
But when Association probably looking at it from the lenses of a unionist, because a lot of Kenyan workers will have to part with at least 2.75% of their gross earnings every month towards this endeavor. It is a colossal amount. And the expectation is that there will be value for that money. When serious questions are being asked about even the system being put in place, there was already a system in NHIF that had all the data. Now there's a new system coming in 5 days to D-Day, and serious questions are being asked by the Departmental Committee of Health of the National Assembly. Don't you think there's a concern there?
And harder questions must even be asked for the program to work out. Workers will be paying 2.7% of their hard-earned income to support the UHC. Government will be paying for households who cannot pay, the indigents. The other working Kenyans have been stratified. Those who will be able to pay, they will pay at reduced rates. So that then, collectively, the revenue base of the new shift is supported by both the government and the workers. And therefore, the issues of transparency and accountability come in. And I'm happy when I see the chair and the Committee of Health raising specific questions, because the Committee of Health in the National Assembly is vested with the responsibility of oversighting the entire program in the Ministry of Health. And therefore, without fear and without bias, it should ask even harder question, how the procurement was done, and why the IT system existing of NHIF has been bypassed, if at all it has been bypassed. And for your information, Fred, I was a board member of NHIF representing workers at a certain time, and we struggled to bring on board the universal health coverage, and at some point I was able to get the comprehensive medical cover for teachers so that we could stop the fundraisings that were going on in communities. But now that we are talking about collectively treating all Kenyans and pooling resources through this new program, it should not be docked with unnecessary controversies. Everything that goes into it must work and must add value and must make the systems move very well. And, to make the healthcare system work, especially where insurance is involved, then a lot needs to be done. And you've seen the American elections. One of the key campaign flagships that people discuss is the right to healthcare, and the right to working medical insurance covers. And when you look at the stratification of the law to roll out universal health care, we've got the SHIFT law, we've got the primary health care law, critical illnesses, and the other one for the development of infrastructure, so that you can see the whole approach is to make sure that every system is working. The primary health care facilities are working, the rest of the facilities are working, and there's enough money to do that. And so to administer, for me, it will require a robust and working ICT infrastructure that is complete with biometrics, so that if a member of a family is sick, say, anywhere in the Republic, then the biometrics and all other ICT systems should be able to identify and do everything, and you are treated on time.
Okay.
The business of, there is a common practice with medical insurance practices that before you are treated, there is what we call pre-authorization. And you get a patient sitting in the casualty for long hours waiting for pre-authorization because we've got weak ICT systems. So I think all what is required, whether ICT system, the current existing ones of NHIF are primitive and cannot meet the standards of the new HC and the programs, or whether we need a new one as is being undertaken, then I think now the House Committee of Parliament must be supported to thoroughly audit, because committees of Parliament are not created for mere window dressing. They are created to adjudicate and oversight on behalf of the people. So they should be able to query and audit why not the existing infrastructure of NHIF. When this is brought, what is the value? And then how was the procurement done? Is the AG aware? Such questions. So all those should be brought on board without narrowing down to Idimuli, who and who. It doesn't matter who the owner is. The thing is, can we get the right thing being done?
And if I look at the cartoons on the Standard and the Daily Nation, they're all talking about the shift to the new SHIF. If my director can help me with this, that's a cartoon on the Daily Nation talking about the government trying to push through this SHIF into an ambulance, where meanwhile NHIF is a broken table outside. But the shift appears like it's a bigger stretcher than can fit in the ambulance. Basically, there's a lot of skepticism about whether or not this new system will work. On the Standard, the cartoon on the Standard has two frames of the same patient on a hospital bed. One is NHIF, another one is SHIF. They say out goes, in comes, and the commentator asks, spot the difference. Is there really a difference between the two? This kind of skepticism should have probably been handled through a proper piloting of the SHIF. Don't you think that a one-time rollout that we expect on the 1st of October without proper piloting is the reason why there are so many questions being asked at the tail end of this period?
So I think in the Mul, if we leave the issue of systems aside, in terms of government trying to offer universal health care, I think through the NHIF, the one that is being replaced by SHIF, it has tried. The only problem is that not everybody was onboarded. That's the only problem. But in terms of working for those who are already onboarded, then NHIF was able at least to have a database that was working. What SHIF is trying to do is to bring everybody on board. And in terms of government, government has various databases that all Kenyans are registered. We have the National Registration Bureau that has all the information. We have the Huduma, we have the ID registration system that has all Kenyans. We have the famous Huduma number that has tried. So in terms of databases, we have so many many systems that we can be able to use. So trying to create the numbers is not a big deal. So in terms of rollout, and I believe government has tried to do piloting in various counties of the universal health care system. So it should be seamless, because we are not coming from scratch. Yet we're getting rid of an entire system into a new one. We had a base. So, and I believe as a system expert, how you roll out the system, you begin from somewhere. You begin from what was working, so that if you are introducing a new system, you face off. You don't become, you don't just do pop pop. You face off so that you can see, because every system will have, rollout will always have challenges. You see, when you are developing the system, and deploying in real life situations, there are various challenges and problems that will emanate that developers will have to modify the system so that those challenges can be able to be handled. So whenever you roll out a new system, there is always, even a perfect system, there will always be challenges. So let us not run out. If you see an error, you start jumping over the roof. Those are challenges. The
concern is because it's only 5 days to the rollout of
the system. What I'm just telling whoever is concerned with that department, there should be a legacy system that is already working, so that we can onboard all Kenyans as we bring in the new system. Once we have stabilized with the new system, then now the system can run on the new system.
Okay.
But in terms of rolling out the shift, it should not be dependent on the software. It should be dependent that we are onboarding all Kenyans. We are offering universal health care. Our challenges in terms of system should be as seamless as possible.
Okay. And yes, indeed, it is only 5 days to the official rollout of the SHIF. Quick headlines on this same issue. State turns to administrators, Huduma centers to speed up SHIF listing is on page 7 of the Nation. A lot of questions being asked. Have you registered, by the way, for SHIF? We're about to go on a break. We are on top of the hour. So let's take that break. When we come back, we'll give you an opportunity to contribute to that. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not...
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. We still continue looking at the big headlines. SHIF, the big discussion this morning. In 5 days' time, the official rollout of SHIF will happen across the country. Quite a number of stories being asked, a number of questions being asked about the preparedness of this rollout and what it will mean, given the fact that all Kenyans will be contributing 2.75% of their gross income towards this. I'm still in studio with David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Wilson Sosion, former MP. Bwana Sosion, you wanted to say?
Just one clarification so that people don't get confused and they think the universal health coverage is something being started now. You've asked, was there any piloting? The universal health coverage was undertaken by NHIF through global studies around 2006-2007. And several benchmark studies were conducted across the world. That included visit by board members of NHIF to Germany, Argentina, and other success stories all over the world. And the piloting was undertaken in the year 2009. So it is actually, we are dealing with something which had been done. Yes.
Universal health coverage.
Yes, universal health coverage.
I think the question is about the
piloting. The piloting was done.
Of UHC.
No, the name has changed from NHIF to SHIF. But the philosophy of the rollout is one, rollout universal health coverage. And the data is there, the experience and the framework is in place. It's only that if we did piloting in 2009, what has happened that we are rolling it out 15 years down the line. And if we are rolling out 15 years down the line, which indeed is too late, then what is it that we can do to get it right? So when I look at the cartoonist, this drawing is a warning to those who are in office that then we must up your game and pull up your socks so that then if we are retiring NHIF, which was unable in its framework to deliver universal health coverage, and you're bringing in SHA or SHIV with the other components of entities supported by the different legislation, then we should not get a worse product than what you're getting with the NHIF. So I think the cartoon story is just a warning.
Okay.
Yeah, it's thought-provoking for those who are doing it. And as a democratic country that is open to public participation on matters policy, and what the media is doing is to open our eyes so that we can discuss more about the rollout of universal health coverage. It should work. It should not be dogged with challenges. It should be rolled out meticulously. We should be able to see primary health care facilities functioning effectively and reducing cases of admission, and you have seen the rollout, including the community health promoters being put in place. We should see it working. The thing is, 15 years down the line, after piloting, after several studies, and after a lot of work having gone into it, and a lot of money going into it, and now being the main pillar number 5 of bottom-up economic transformation agenda, because we need a healthy nation, then we need to roll it out seamlessly without challenges. So anybody who has information about challenges and gaps that can affect the rollout, you are free to raise it.
Okay.
And whoever is threatening the rollout, there is nothing wrong with mentioning.
All right.
We are an open country. Indeed. Let's point out, let's discuss.
And indeed, the questions have been raised.
Everybody getting treated. And look at a country like Malaysia, for example. Everybody gets treated well. The healthcare system is so robust to the extent that there are no private hospitals.
Point made, Bwana Sosion. Asante for that. And yes, indeed, questions are being raised and asked about the SHIF that's being rolled out in 5 days' time. I want us now to move to a different discussion that has also been making headlines this entire week, and that is a looming impeachment of the Deputy President. It is a big story on the front page of the Standard, staring at an impeachment drawing near. MPs say the motion to remove the Deputy President is ready and has garnered the requisite support from members to meet the threshold. However, there's a split on who will lead the onslaught, with some pointing at the opposition through Junet Mohammed and the others, the government side, through Kimani Ichung'wah. That's the front page of the Standard. Just wait a minute. I will take a look at another daily. Inside night meetings to impeach the DP, they say while a section of Rift Valley leaders think Gachagwa's removal is a done deal, others were actually saying 2 weeks' time maximum on Twitter. Others warn that the move may be their own Waterloo. That's the front page of the People Daily. It is also there on the front page of The Nation. Gachagua ouster bid MPs collect signatures. We do have a member of the National Assembly with us this morning. Bona David Kiplagat, have you appended your signature to this impeachment motion that we are told could be tabled as early as today?
Okay, it's first I can say it's unfortunate that we are in these situations, but we find ourselves as Kenya Kwanza to be. But you know, a political question has to be answered politically, and looking at it, where you have the deputy president going overboard in terms of trying to undercut his boss. And we believe this is a relationship. It's like a marriage. And you see, in a marriage, when the two partners, one of them goes out and reveals to the whole world how the marriage is not working, then I believe if you go to any court of law, such a marriage should be annulled. So just like any marriage, this government has a lot of promises that promise Kenyans to deliver. We have only 2.5 years to do so. So political undertones is not a good ingredient to be able to achieve those deliverables. So it is important that those undertones are actually settled so that we can have a vehicle that both the driver and the conductor are working in a rhythm.
If I get you right, Bwana Kiplagat, allow me to interject here. Because you're basically saying that this is a political problem, but an impeachment is a more legal process. And are you saying that you are looking to settle political scores through an impeachment? And should that be the direction?
Of course, an impeachment is both legal and political. In terms of the legal, the court of law will have to interpret and will have to say. But there is one ground in which we are basing on, that is the ground of gross misconduct. And gross misconduct is broad-based.
Including misunderstandings in politics. Could be gross misconduct?
Is broad-based. And I believe if you have looked at the scenarios that has happened, look at the scenario whereby the situation we were in during the so-called, may I call the so-called Gen Z's demonstration on 25th of June. The information that we have is that it was both organized internally and externally. And those information, I believe, looking at the motion when it's finally tabled, you will be able to see
is that part of the motion?
What really happened.
Have you seen the motion?
May I finish?
No. You've just raised a very serious issue.
Of course, I'm in Bunge, so
because you've raised an issue about the link with the Gen Z protests.
May I finish?
Is that part of the motion?
Of course, what happened on 25th was unexpected, and investigations that we have is that actually it was planned internally and externally.
So that is part of the accusations in the impeachment motion. It's a direct question.
Of course, may I end there? You will make what you will be able to pick what I've said. But secondly, look at even said scenario whereby all of us in government were meeting at State House after what had happened, one day after what had happened in Parliament, to analyze the situation as to where we were with the Finance Bill 2024 that we had already passed in Parliament. Now, the scenario is we give the president, who is the head of state and also head of government, addresses the media, addresses the nation. And then that means after, in Mombasa, the deputy president calls the media to also address the nation, while his boss has addressed the nation. And he ends up revealing even information that is well kept at the National Security Council of what they discuss, what they do, what the NSIS boss is not doing. You know, he went ballistic. You get those are issues now that borders on highly gross misconduct. So in terms of getting the impeachable offense, they are there.
They're there.
They are there.
Okay.
Now, in terms of
have you signed?
Because
let him finish. Go ahead.
Of course, reading my body language, you could see that in me asking whether I've signed, I want to tell you I've signed.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of passing it through the National Assembly, I can tell you in Timul it will pass.
Okay.
Maybe where we need to focus is what happens in the Senate.
Okay.
But
you're not confident about what happens in the Senate?
Not that I'm not confident. You see, there are so many minefields that it is not. Of course, an impeachment of a deputy president, I will tell you, is not a walk in the park.
Bwana Sosion, I'll ask you the question.
I believe.
Yes, listening to Bwana Kiplagat.
I believe in Dimuli.
Yes.
For us to make this government work, because government is elected by the people of Kenya, so that it can deliver services to the people of Kenya, not to politic 24/7, and not to have a competition between the president and his deputy.
Okay.
And I believe maybe going forward, we need now, after this, we need to relook at this constitution, because this constitution is not.
We'll come back to that question of
where the deputy president should not be in the design that it is in this constitution.
Okay, and we'll come back to discuss that issue because it has been raised. But Bwana Sosion, do you agree that this, listening to Bwana Kiplagat, that this is a political problem? Isn't it therefore an abuse of the impeachment process?
To me, I want to
fix a political problem.
To me, I want to take a completely different departure, and I'll go by the words of the president. The problem with this country is incompetent leadership in offices, conflict of interest, and corruption. And I also want to take a departure from changing the constitution. The constitution is not the problem. The people in office are the problem. And the constitution provides curative measure for the people who have failed in offices. There is provision of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on integrity. For me, the Kenyan Constitution was properly negotiated. And by and by, Kenyans are becoming more conscious and exercising the provisions of those constitutions. The issue at play with the impeachment of the deputy president, and I've seen it has already been signed, and I think Parliament, now you are rising to the occasion of the provision of the Constitution. And when you look at Article 150 of the Constitution, the impeachment of a deputy president, not on politics, but number one, gross violation of the Constitution and violation of the laws and gross misconduct. Those are three grounds. So I would urge my brother, I think, let's keep politics out of this. Let's all agree we want to cure governance in this country. And governance, you punish those who are wrong. Even for us in the teaching profession, there is what we call the Code of Regulations. And every day, many teachers are disciplined over that. So even those in government, they should be punished. The reward for making mistakes is a punishment. And therefore, impeachment should then, I think we've toyed with impeachment. Let us now use it rightly, on the basis of facts of the Constitution, violation of the Constitution, violation of the laws, and general gross misconduct. And let me state, nobody is not impeachable in this country. The president is impeachable, the deputy is impeachable,
as long as there are grounds,
the ministers are impeachable, and who has the power to do that? The people of Kenya through the National Assembly.
Do you think, do you believe they have enough grounds for impeachment?
When Honorable Kiplangat appends a signature, it is the people of Soy constituency who have appended.
Bwana Sosion, my question is, do you believe that there are enough grounds to support the accusation of gross misconduct, which is broad-based?
Listening and watching, definitely there are, and it's legitimate. And the thing is, my question is, do you have the guts to execute it to its logical conclusion? We should do that, and we should punish. And I think this should mark the beginning of revolutionizing governance in this country. If you are on the wrong, you should be impeached. Whether you are the president, whether you are the deputy, whether you are the minister, if you are called out, you should resign and go away. Because we want a clean government. If you are a governor, and we have seen impeachments of governors that have been going back and forth, some have succeeded, but now we want this to be done on solid grounds of facts of law and the Constitution.
And you believe they exist?
Of course, definitely it does exist.
Yet there's a lot of politics
let me tell you, Fred, if we are to scrutinize and go full scale on this, it's extremely factual. And you see, look at it. I like it. Let me go by the scenario that he has cited, where the president has given a national address. The president is the chairman of the National Security Advisory Council. And the deputy president is a member. And so, by any standards and by our traditions and practices, the president is the spokesman of that. That's how it is. And when the president is issuing that statement, he's supposed to be flanked by the deputy president.
That is assumed by tradition.
No,
it's
no,
not
that's how it ought to be. That is how it ought to be.
There's no provision in the Constitution that the deputy president has to flank the president.
That is what it ought to be. That's how.
Don't you see a risk here that some of these claims and accusations you have will be challenged in a court of law?
Let me finish, Fred. If the deputy issues a contradictory statement elsewhere, really, in terms of government running, are we trying to reduce and bastardize the presidency so that we are confused? It looks like we are confused. We don't know what we are doing. This is something that needs to be corrected, and it should be corrected in broad daylight. And therefore, if there's an impeachment motion in Parliament, which is constitutional and which is legal, can Parliament demonstrate that they can bite, and you don't need to do it?
But we've had a lot of threats verbalized this week about the impeachment, but the problem is, on the dailies today, we're seeing a lot of hesitation on who will actually bite the bullet and table the motion.
Maybe in the bullet. By the way, that is what the press is saying, but who will table the motion? The motion will be tabled
by a member of Parliament.
By a member of Parliament.
Today?
And, maybe today, maybe on Tuesday. Whichever the case, it will be tabled. In terms of garnering the requisite numbers, it has garnered the requisite numbers to be able to be tabled. In terms of prosecuting, it will be prosecuted. But may I say that in terms of determining whether the grounds of impeachment meets the threshold, it falls squarely on the Speaker of the National Assembly. And the National Assembly Speaker, once in receipt of the motion, he will be able to apply his mind. And the National Speaker is one of the top
lawyers,
legal minds in this country.
And a former judge.
Having been in Parliament for more than 3 decades, I can tell you, in terms of making the right decision as to whether the allegations that have been allayed for that special motion meets the impeachment threshold, he will be able to determine. And I believe by Tuesday that determination will have been made. Now, after that determination, then the idea of saying whether the threshold has been met or has not been met, that door will have been closed. Now we move to the other process. It is guided by both Article 150 of the Constitution and Article 145, because the process of impeaching the president is the same as the process of impeaching the deputy president. Now, the reason why I was saying that the drafters of this Constitution, may I differ with my colleague a bit, the drafters of this Constitution has made what was ordinary to be so difficult. I believe, as enshrined in law, the deputy president is the principal assistant of the president. And you can imagine, even you in the Mule, suppose your principal assistant, now you are in talking, you are in, you talk in cross purposes. What will you do? You will not even hesitate to suspend such a worker. And
is it that our old situation is different? Because in the US they use the same system. The deputy president is not is not appointed by the president.
Okay, you know, those are constitution. We
borrowed a lot from there.
Those are constitution. You know, we borrow from established democracies, and then we apply our bad manners. You know, we should also draft our constitution.
So then we deal with the bad manners.
Support our bad manners.
No, let's deal with the bad manners.
Are you suggesting we should go back to bad manners?
Our bad manners is, you know, the president should at any time be able to determine whether they can still work with his principal assistant, just the same way during the Moi era, and be able to dismiss and hire for that purpose. That's why I'm saying the cornerstone of our problems lies in our constitution.
Would you have said the same when deputy president, when William Ruto was deputy president?
Secondly,
that Uhuru Kenyatta should have been able to fire him at his whim.
No, what I'm saying is we have seen.
Is it different now?
We have seen this deputy president sit his jeans because there are problems. And this
from back when Uhuru Kenyatta was president,
we didn't have when we had the old constitution. So there seemed to be a problem in this constitution that brought an established democracy and apply in Kenyan setup where the people's culture and things like that are very different, and we are bad manners. So you know, constitution is, we are the one making constitution to support our behavior. It is not us to follow the constitution. It is the constitution to follow our bad manners. So what I'm saying is we need to draft a Kenyan constitution devoid of foreign interpretations that can retain the tenets and the stability of the country. One of it...
Going by what Bwana Kiplagat has said, let's go back to when Uhuru Kenyatta was president, and he had the same problem with his deputy William Ruto. There were attempts and even threats of impeachment. At one point, there was an attempt to impeach the deputy president, and then Leader of Majority, you were a member of parliament then, yes. Leader of Majority Aden Duale said it is not easy to impeach a deputy president. It's not a walk in the park. What is so different right now?
You know, the Constitution protects persons in those particular offices. You were elected on a joint ticket, the president and the deputy. And the scenarios here are different. There is no day that the deputy president then, William Ruto, contravened the Constitution or contradicted the president. And he carried himself with a lot of humility in the office, and therefore it was very difficult.
He openly told off the president then, his boss.
No, of course, speaking on issues in a civilized way is okay. That is it. And so it was very difficult to generate those grounds to impeach. That is number one. Number two, the fact of the matter is the Jubilee wing, the government side, at that time, the majority of the members of parliament, William Ruto had the highest number and the highest support, so that thing could not even get into the House. But if we come to what we have at the moment, I still insist the problem is not the Constitution. The problem is how we want to interpret the Constitution to suit the wrong ways in which we want to work. So we must vacate the wrong ways and accept. If you are a deputy president, you have been elected with the president, you are expected to comply with the Constitution, comply with the laws and the expected conduct of that office. If that is done, we'll not be talking about how to remove anybody from office. I think the window of opportunity to remove anybody from office is given. And I don't think we'll get back to the imperial times where you allow the president to be firing and appointing. That also will be worse. It will be jumping from frying pan to the fire. If you look at the US democracy, for example, The other day, Joe Biden was running as president, and they had an interview with Trump, and our conversation by the Democratic Party that then we should change our candidates. And you saw eventually it was very easy to land on Kamala Harris. And nobody knew the personality of Kamala Harris all along. And now that she's taken to the stage, she seems to be even doing better than Barack Obama. Those are traditions where discipline, order, comradeship and patriotism to the country works. Why are we trying to run away from a constitution that rails us to common behavior and good governance simply because we want to practice the old ways? To me, I don't believe the constitution is a problem. Yes. Let me give you, for example, I've worked within the teaching space. We created a commission called Teacher Service Commission, independent and constitutional. The interpretation by those who are in management and the rest is that the body, the commissioners and the rest are independent and all-powerful and imperial. They didn't see it as the independence of the profession. And we can go on and on from every department to if we did constitutional audit, and we'll realize that the problem is not the constitution. The problem is ourselves and the occupants of those very constitutional offices. For this one, that is, for the impeachment of the deputy president, I think it is being done democratically. It's a member of parliament who has drafted. You cannot append a signature if a member of parliament has not drafted the motion. There is a member of parliament who has drafted, we don't know who, and has cited grounds, and I believe those who are signing have read, and I dare say, because I was within the center of negotiating this constitution within the framework of teachers from the social groups in this country, and I will be among those who will fight any attempt to change it when it's not necessary. Can we all change our bad manners, leave our bad manners at home?
If it was about bad manners,
so then
motion would have been enough.
Let the impeachment
like the one filed before the Senate.
Let the impeachment motion be tabled and be treated on the facts of law and the Constitution.
Maybe on that capacity, maybe just you have mentioned about the censor motion drafted by tabled in the Senate. I think that one has no legal standing. I think it is unnecessary excitement by the Senate to jump the gun. So we believe Honorable Mugatana, the senator from Tana River,
yes,
yeah, should be able to wait, and they will have the bite of the cherry. You know, sometimes people just jump and start doing things outside the Constitution. So for this one, we really need to follow the Constitution. What I'm saying in the Muli, which I still a departure with my colleague, is that
democratically,
you know, sometimes this constitution, it has become so difficult for us Kenyans to follow. Look at the scenario that we are in. Every now and then, we have to create the position of prime minister. You have to look around of how to create the position of prime minister.
Which is okay.
Which is not provided, but it has become a necessity. Every now and then, after 2 years, we have to negotiate and bring broad-based government of national unity, broad-based things like that to bring the opposition. And every now and then, our election is so furious that it is always at the tip. That's at the tip of the iceberg, where the country can tip, either we lose the country or we gain the country, and has been through the Supreme Court. And the reason why we are in that difficulty is somebody introduced another clause called 50+1. And that 50+1 has become an animal that, if not checked, it might in future ban this country. So that's why I'm saying there are enough grounds, I believe, that we need to relook at this constitution and we model a constitution that is customized to the behavior of Kenyans and Kenyan politicians, so that if maybe in 30 years we find out that we are now like Americans, then nothing stops us from now amending to suit the behavior of Americans. But for now, we are Africans, and Africans is our business. So let us
we are totally unable to live up to the constitution we set ourselves.
What happened is the drafters of the constitution,
who are also Kenyans. It was a negotiated document.
Somehow overrated the thinking of Kenyans. And we have seen, let us all accept, we have seen the problems that we undergo when we are doing the presidential elections. The reason is 50 plus 1. This country is divided down the middle. Let us go to a situation whereby the popular candidate becomes the president, so that we don't have this idea of saying to you, we have enough shares. Okay. Which region has more than shares in? You know, we are creating problems for ourselves, things that we can be able to address in the constitution. And I dare say, before we go to the next vote in 2017, let us relook
2027. Okay, but now, even before the impeachment motion sees the light of day in Parliament, because we are yet to see it, there are already people lining themselves up to occupy that vacuum if it occurs, the vacancy of deputy president. There are sentiments that it could go towards Western Access, someone from Western Kenya or even Nyanza, yet people from Mount Kenya too have expressed interest, and there's so many discussions about who should be the next deputy president. Now, don't you think this creates a new problem for the president?
To me, I think that will be jumping the gun. I think it's good. We will be jumping the gun because you don't know the consequences of impeachment. But even before,
there's a lot of confidence from the members of parliament.
Yes, I'll say it very clearly on that. On constitutional amendment, even American Constitution has gone through progressive constitutional amendment. Progressive amendment is good, but mutilation to move backwards is wrong. And to amend the constitution, the most legal way, without affecting the basic structure, because you can push these things and you'll be thrown out, the matter will be thrown out by the court, like the BBI. The constitution must be audited. And once audited, then we'll have the right view of how to deal with it and what to amend, like the matters is raising, it has merit, that probably we need a prime minister. Why can't we have it? And we may need the opposition and what leader of opposition and all that. Those are things that can be revealed by a professional audit. So we can have a professional audit of the constitution, but not an impulse decision that is driven by what you really want to do and what the sitting administration would like to do. Then back, what was the
issue about the people who are looking to occupy that vacancy?
Who becomes the next deputy president? That is vested solely in the hands of the president. Once the matter moves from National Assembly to the Senate, the person under impeachment will be granted an opportunity to be heard. There's a right to be heard. And I want to state, Parliament has the quasi-judicial powers. That means equivalent powers as the High Court. So it will prosecute the matter legally. And whoever is in question, whoever is accused, will be granted an opportunity to defend himself or herself. And once the vote is taken at the Senate, and it garners 2/3, just like 2/3 in the National Assembly, then a Gazette notice is issued declaring the office vacant. And once that is done, the president will appoint. The president shall appoint a deputy. So we cannot think, you and I, and those outside there, and anybody else within the confines of the Republic of Kenya cannot purport to think on behalf of the president. And so the president will invoke his own wisdom, pick a suitable name, and submit the name to the National Assembly for approval. And once that is done, if approved by the National Assembly, that person shall be sworn in as the deputy president. So it's as simple as that.
Okay.
And so the president can pick anybody. The discretion.
It's a simple
just
decision.
like when he was picking the running mate. The running mate was not...
It wasn't a simple decision.
No,
Yes. Remember, you said you were present there.
Yes, it wasn't a simple decision, but it was a discretion of the presidential candidate.
Okay.
The candidate picks the running mate. So just like you pick the running mate, you are granted an opportunity to also pick. So it is wrong for us to speculate to say it is so and so and so and so and so and so.
Okay, maybe in terms of where we are, I think as my colleague has said, we might be jumping the gun. I know the process will be done in Parliament, and it will be successful. Of course, you know...
With that confidence, it means that Rigathi Gachagua will not be deputy president
Kenya is a very...
in the next few months or so.
Litigious country, so you might not know
what happens
after Parliament. But what I can assure you, in Parliament, we are 100% sure that we shall pull it through. Maybe why we are here, my advice also, now that we have an impeachment motion, so I believe also as now the judge, I can also be an advisor to our deputy president. So I believe all the problems that he finds himself in, he actually created.
Self-created.
It's self-created. You see, you don't compete with your boss first. In fact, I dare say the incoming deputy president should not finish more than a minute giving a speech when the president is around. You see, you just greet the people and welcome the president. All the things you wanted to say, let the president say. And you will survive for long. Secondly, always watch on your trips. You see, when you are looking for votes, you go to the people after you have been elected, because even me, I've been a speaker. And for 5 years, I knew there can be an impeachment. And I always look back at every day. Before I sleep, I have to know how many do I have. When I wake up, I have to confirm how many do I have, because that is what is keeping you on the job. You don't start fighting with legislators from your backyard, from everywhere, from wherever, until when such a thing comes, getting numbers becomes a problem. So you always have to, you change. Like now you are governing. When you are governing, Parliament is paramount. Parliament is very important. You have to always ensure that you are in tandem with your troops. You get. So sometimes I believe maybe whoever will be coming will have learned a few. The
confidence members do have, and because it's the same question, the confidence members have right now comes from the fact that ODM has declared support for this. Now, ODM is a big party in the National Assembly, and the new alliance heading towards 2027, they may decide to demand for the number 2 position as well.
No,
do you think that is a possibility, and will it complicate the matter for the president?
What I'm saying is, you see, our negotiation, the number 2 position belongs to Mount Kenya. Okay. That's given.
That's a guarantee?
It will not change.
It won't change.
Secondly, I believe this is not an issue that is just left to the president to decide. I believe, these are my personal views, the most workable solution is to let the leaders from Mount Kenya go and sit down somewhere, and then they will come up with a candidate that they will agree this one now can be a replacement to the deputy president, and then we shall take it up. Let us not also try to emboss a leader to that region. But I believe
that negotiation and guarantee to Mount Kenya
that is 100%, I'm 100%
was before ODM joined the matrix. Now that ODM is in the picture, does that guarantee still stands, that the deputy president's position is guaranteed for Mount Kenya region?
The position of the deputy president was not a contentious issue. The position of the deputy president, as per the Kenya Kwanza, belongs to Kenya Kwanza and belongs to the mountain.
Yet we've seen proposals that include members of ODM as possible replacements for the deputy president. Are you saying that this is empty talk?
You know, Fred, let us not fuel speculation that is intended to create confusion. There are many approaches to this. And I say it very clearly. It's what the Constitution says. I'm outlining what the Constitution says. The president shall propose a name.
You are politicians, and you must consider the politics as well.
I'm talking about the Constitution and the law. Let me choose. Allow me my right.
I'm asking you as a politician
the
now.
Constitution and the law. And it will be dealing with a political issue. The political issue is appointing a deputy president. In the event that the impeachment goes through,
which has very serious political ramifications.
And from the way it is, it will go through. This is going to be the first time in Kenya that an impeachment is tackled extremely successfully. And that should serve as a lesson to anybody in public office. It's not a privilege to be in a state officer, to be elected, but it's a duty to serve the people. And so, right now, and in the pre-election, the president was keen to pick a deputy from Mount Kenya. And that is why he got a lot of support. And the commitment he made to the people of Mount Kenya, he has not walked back. And I am sure, as has been stated by Mheshimiwa here, it is not rocket science. The office of the deputy president under the Kenya Kwanza administration, if you are to ask for my personal opinion, it is a preserve of Mount Kenya, and I'm sure
even with a broad-based government.
I expect, yes, and I expect the president. And by the way, why would people want to speculate that the broad-based government was brought in to disadvantage Mount Kenya? Nobody within the architecture and the framework of the president, nobody is going to interfere with the political interest of Mount Kenya in the broad-based government.
The assumption
and
is
their
that
rights
with a successful impeachment, the support of Mount Kenya will not be 100% for William Ruto.
Those are political.
These are serious political discussions going on currently. Are you saying you're ignoring this serious political
political interest of Mount Kenya within the presidency of William Ruto is protected 100%, and I can guess the probability over 90%. I don't speak on behalf of the president. But I am sure the nominee for the office of the deputy president, in the event that an impeachment is possible, will come from Mount Kenya. That does not affect ODM. And don't forget, I've been a member of ODM, and we can see the type of negotiations and arrangements with the ODM. It's basically for working for the country and getting space and accommodating all. And the president said, and this, he's not doing it now. He did it at Kasarani, that I will work with all Kenyans. Okay. And true enough, he has walked the talk. And you see, in the Bible, it says, in my father's house, there are many mansions, enough for all of you. So ODM will get their space. Nobody's going to take the interest of Mount Kenya. Kenya will get united, and the country will move on. What is so difficult? Do you think, Fred, you think we are going to run the brand of politics where you lock out a whole region, bring another one, and then when you feel it is convenient, throw that region out, and then bring another one? I don't think that is the philosophy of the president, and he has made it very clear.
Okay.
And the recent tour to Nyanza, which we saw he deliberately went with the deputy president, was just meant to unite the entire country. But then these afterthoughts and the conduct of the deputy president, that sends the public utterances, that dismantles the same mission visit to Nyanza and other places.
Let's focus on the deputy president
really
now for a
does
bit.
affect.
A successful impeachment will have serious ramifications for his political future. And there are those, including those in your team, who are suggesting he should resign. Do you think that that is a plan that, yes, you do understand that impeaching him is not going to be easy? He may go to court, and this thing may not necessarily be successful. Do you think, from where you sit, that he should opt to resign?
Okay, maybe before I answer that, I should ask you independently, do you think the current behavior of the deputy president can restore the good working relationship with the president?
Well, it's not for me to decide, and the president will make that
under ordinary circumstances. Mm-hmm. That's the situation we are in. And that is the million-dollar question that we are trying to answer. Now, coming back to what action the deputy president will take, of course, what I can tell you, resigning in the middle does not negate impeachment. Even Trump was impeached. They tried to impeach him when he was already home. So the impeachment process will go on, whether you resign in the middle or you resign at the tail end. But the impeachment process...
You cannot impeach him once he's no longer deputy president.
No, I'm saying the impeachment process is a judicial.
Is a judicial
issue. There is nowhere. Look at Article 145. Look at Article 150. There is nowhere that is stated that if the person being impeached resigns before impeachment, then the impeachment ceases. That is an independent, you know, it is like you are in a court of law. Whether you like it or not, the process will finish. So unless now we have an agreement that we all sit down and we agree, and the deputy president says, gentlemen, all of us are gentlemen, I have a career to protect, because you know the repercussions of being impeached. Being impeached, you cannot even stand for a chairman for a kettle dip in Kenya. So that is the implication. So looking at the implication, and because we are all gentlemen, he can come, we sit down and we agree, instead of going through this process, I hereby tender my resignation. And if we are in agreement, then we say, okay, that is good enough. But if we decide as a National Assembly and the Senate that we shall finish the process, whether you will be in your village, you will be impeached.
Okay. Senior lawyers have talked about this, including senior counsels, and they say that he has the option to resign if at all he sees this impeachment is going to be successful. Do you think, with the kind of confidence we're seeing from the National Assembly about the success of this process, that the deputy president should opt to step down?
Of course, there are many options. Anybody can resign. You can resign to avoid living with the consequences of an impeachment, because an impeachment takes you out of public office for the rest of your life. If you are found guilty, of course, you have the recourse to move to the courts, but then you may not easily move the courts if the matter under discussion, under prosecution, has got 4 strong legs on facts of law and facts of constitution. And I think, so in that circumstance, anybody can elect to resign. And if you resign and that impeachment is actually withdrawn, then it gives you that. But I don't want to.
Yeah, maybe what I wanted to ask, you see, you are making the muting of an impeachment to a resignation. That is not supported in law. So we are saying this is an issue, as parliamentarians, we shall pursue to the last.
Whether he resigns or not.
Whether he resigns or not. Okay. But I'm not ruling out, in case, because this country is also half gentlemen, I'm not ruling out that we can sit around the table and maybe he apologizes and resigns, and we say, okay, let us assist this.
Is it something that you've thought about as a group, as members of the National Assembly, that you could entertain a possible apology and resignation from the deputy president?
For now, I can tell you, we are going. It is an all-out war. We shall finish. Yeah. Okay. Because I think we also have, you know, this tendency, this kind of behavior. We don't want to be recurring. So if you get candidates as such behavior, you finish. And they say something. They say, okay. They say in our culture. I don't know how to put it in. I'll try to put it in English. Okay, I didn't want to use. I didn't want to use. Okay, may I just...
You can do literal translation.
You know, you are trying to kill a snake. You don't eat on the tail and then you leave it to go. It will come back to bite you. So, once you have faced the snake, make sure you kill it.
Niko finish Kumalo. Yeah. Yes, Bwana Sosion, we interrupted your train of thought. You were saying something about his possible resignation.
Yes, it's possible. It's an option. There are many options. But you see, for me, I don't want to preempt the process. I'm not part of Parliament. He is. And once the matter is in Parliament, it gains a life of its own. Where it ends, fate knows where it will end. Maybe they may not raise the numbers.
We have enough evidence about governors who have been impeached. The latest one is Kawira Mwangaza. She was successfully impeached. Even at the Senate, she is still governor of the great county of Meru. Meaning that this thing, the threats we are seeing about 2 weeks' time,
the same constitution grants every citizen a right to be heard in a court of law. Whether you apply directly or someone applies on your behalf, that is in Article 20 of the Constitution. And you cannot impeach a person, anybody, if you don't have clear facts of breach of Constitution and breach of law. That is what it is. And this is how this country will be. And very lastly, on the same, I believe the impeachment should not be weaponized when you don't have facts of law. Impeachment should be used to improve governance. And everybody should be ready.
Do you agree there are instances where it has been weaponized?
I have not been at the Senate to scrutinize the various impeachment applications. There could be, yes, there may have been, and there are temptations to weaponize and politicize. But you see, we must have clear facts of law that the public can be convinced. For example, the matter in question, the public's parts and disagreements, and you know, when you see that any state officer threatening Parliament, how do you threaten Parliament? Parliament is elected by the people of Kenya. And if you threaten Parliament, then you are threatening the people of Kenya. There should be some limitation, restraint, and exercise of decency. And this we have seen. I don't want to get into the merits and all that, but I'll tell you, it is now time we sanitize governance so that anybody who is privileged to be elected to represent the people, to be appointed to be a state officer, you owe it and you are accountable to the people of Kenya. And you must comply with the expectations of the provisions of the Constitution and the law. So don't bring in other personal issues, and you will be prosecuted on such.
What I can say is that I agree with Social that impeachment should not be weaponized, like the way we saw during the Uru's administration last time. I believe there are 2 governors that were impeached politically. That is Waititu in Kiambu and Songo in Nairobi. They didn't even meet the impeachment threshold, but you know what happened in Nairobi. They used phones. In Kiambu, they even counted the orderlies of county assembly and the sergeant at arms, because Waititu had ran away with a third of.
Well, that's at the county assembly. How do you blame Uhuru Kenyatta for that? Surely.
No, because it was an order.
Weaponized.
It was weaponized. It was an order. The speaker was given an order that impeachment should go through. So you use all crooks and means. But what I can assure you, the process that we are about to embark as Parliament will be as watertight as possible. We shall go step by step. We are not going to hurry. We shall not follow. We shall be reading every comment and full stop and analyzing. And we have a team of lawyers.
This same Parliament has come under a lot of criticism for failing to do that in many of the legislation that you've passed. That's why it ends up in court.
Because this
time you will do it different.
This one is a landmine. We shall read and reread and reread every line of the impeachment article, Article 145. We shall apply to the letter so that when we finally prosecute, and we know there is the court process, at least we know we will be vindicated by the court. Because if we follow the process through and the grounds are solid, then I believe this is one of the impeachment that will go through without any problem. But everybody is entitled to go to court. Everybody is entitled to representation. But even Parliament, we shall ensure that we give a fair hearing to the Deputy President.
Very sound declarations from the National Assembly on the impending impeachment of the Deputy President. This is where we dock this morning, and yes, indications even across all dailies is that this motion of impeachment could see the light of day as early as today. So we do wait to see whether or not it will be tabled for the Speaker's approval before it's actually tabled in the House. And yes, we'll get to see exactly what grounds and accusations against the Deputy President have been listed, because so far it has been mostly political. So we wait to see. Thank you so much, Bwana David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Bwana David Wilson Sosion, your pardon, former SGKNUT and former member of the National Assembly. This has been State of the Nation on Morning Cafe with me, Freddie Ndimuli. After the break, discussion on health. My colleague Shiksha Arora will be guiding this. Primary lymphoma of